Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's training is on PAYE and payroll computation under the new Nigeria tax law. Our learning points today include core payroll computation changes under which we have the Consolidated Relief Allowance abolition, the introduction of rent relief, updated tax bands and rates, statutory deductions, and next is the practical application of the significant changes to tax reliefs and income bands, under which we have the step-by-step calculation, system adjustment, and documentation. Documentation is very key under this new tax regime. Next is the new payee breakdown effective January 2026, under which we have the annual taxable income band and the tax rate. The first 800,000 is not taxable. The next 2.2 million up to 3 million total at 15%. The next 9 million up to 12 million total at 18%. The next 13 million up to 25 million at 21%. The next 25 million up to 50 million at 23%. And above 50 million is at 25%. So quickly we want to look at the key changes and allowable deductions. The new tax laws introduce several key changes for employees. First is exemption threshold. Individuals earning a gross annual income of 800,000 or less are fully exempt from PAYE. And next is abolition of CRA. The previous Consolidated Relief Allowance has been replaced with rent relief. So the rent relief, under the rent relief, taxpayers who pay rent can claim a deduction which is the lower of 20% of annual rent paid or 500,000. Proper documentation is required, which is the receipt from landlord in employee's name. Next is statutory deductions. The mandatory contribution remain deductible from gross income to arrive at the taxable income, which includes employee pension, a mandatory 8% of pensionable emolument on basic salary, housing, and transport allowances. Next is National Housing Fund at 2.5% of gross income. Next is the National Health Insurance. Contributions are deductible for National Health Insurance. And then the last one on this list here is life insurance premium or life assurance premium. Premiums paid for self or spouse life insurance are also deductible with documentation. That is the proof of payment. Now we'll be looking at table proper, computation table, the payee and payroll computation table. Here we have the annual payroll computation. And the headings we'll be looking at, first here is employee name. Next is life assurance document submitted. So for the purpose of this computation table, the calculations, the formula for the calculations requires that yes or no response should be indicated under the life assurance document submitted. The same also goes for the rent relief allowance document, which should be indicated submitted yes or no. And then the next is National Housing Fund NHF, now which is voluntary. Employees need to indicate if they want to opt in or out, and you need to also indicate this response under the NHF opt-in yes or no heading. Next is annual life assurance paid, which should be indicated. Next is rent paid annually, which should also be indicated. Next is total annual income gross pay as agreed with employee. Next is annual basic salary. This is just a breakdown and it varies depending on companies what is being adopted, but usually between 40 to 50% for annual basic salary. Next is annual housing allowance. For the purpose of this computation, we are using 25% for annual housing allowance. We are using 45% for annual basic. And next is annual transport allowance at 10%. Next is other allowances at 20%. The next heading is annual NHF calculation. Next is annual pension calculation. Also, we have the annual life assurance calculation. Next is rent relief allowance calculation. Next is annual voluntary pension as agreed by employee. And we have the total annual relief calculation, the taxable annual income calculation, which is the total annual income less total annual relief. Next is annual tax payable calculation. And the second to last is total deductions calculation, and the last is net annual pay calculation. So we have the formulas, automated formulas under each of these headings, which you just need to plug in your total income for the employee, total gross income for employee, and also plug in the annual rent paid if the employee has submitted documents for that, and also annual life assurance if employee submits documentation for that. So here we have dummy numbers for the rent paid annually. We have 2 million on the first row, and then we have the total annual income at 10.4 million. And immediately you put in these figures, it will calculate the totals for you, and you automatically get the net annual pay. So for the purpose of this illustration and training, I will just quickly add a figure here so that we can see how it is being calculated automatically. Here we just want to let's use 7 million as the annual rent paid. Let's also format to numbers. Let's make the formatting to be regular and same for all calculation. Okay, having done that, we've inputted 7 million for the rent annual payment, and we want to also put a dummy number figure for the total annual income. Let's use 50 million here. So you can see, because I've not indicated yes or no response for this employee, our total net pay is still 50 million. So let's indicate yes or no. I would like us to use yes here. I would like us to use, so just simply copy and paste. So also use yes here also. Then let's look at the table proper now. So what you need to do is to highlight to the net pay, and you drop this arrow down here for the automatic calculation. There you have it. The net annual pay for this employee is 11,470,350 naira. Quickly, I also want to introduce us to an automated calculation if the agreed net if the agreed total income is based on net for the employee. So this we've done here is based on gross. It's easier with gross. So but for net, if the agreed total income with the employee during the interview stage is the net total income or net monthly salary, all you need to do here is you click on the net annual pay cell, and then you go to the data up here, the data option, the data tab up here, and next you go to the what if analysis. You click on goal seek. So what this is going to do for us is, once you've agreed, take for instance you agreed, what can we use now? Let's use 30 million was what was agreed, 30 million net annual pay for the employee. All you need to do is, in this next column, you indicate the 30 million, the agreed 30 million. In the next box here, you click on the total annual income and you click OK. It automatically calculates and gives you the total gross pay for this employee at 30 million net annual pay. Simple and straight. So this you need to use if what was agreed is on net, but if what was agreed is on gross, all you need to do is input the gross here. So let's also play with the response for rent relief allowance. Take for instance, it is no. So let's indicate no here. We notice as soon as I press enter, it's going to change the net annual pay here. The net annual pay here is 30 million. So it's going to change it if this employee doesn't submit rent relief allowance, which is the receipt from landlord in the employee's name. So now I've clicked enter command. You can see that the value here has changed. So the formula is based on the responses here. So all you need to do is to indicate the response and then input the rent paid, and also input the total annual gross pay if that was what was agreed. Let's also indicate for this employee that he or she has submitted life assurance document. See that the net pay will also change. Let's indicate, for instance, the employee paid 4 million as the annual life insurance. Let's format this also so that our table is pretty. Format it quickly. All right, so we see that there's been an increase here. You because of the additional relief these employees enjoying. If we go back or take off, we have 12.8 million here. Let's take out the figure here. Simply let's copy first and then delete. To delete, press enter. So we can see that the figure here is still the same. Let's quickly look at where the error is coming from. Okay, so the error is from this response here. No. So if we indicate yes for this employee, the figures will change automatically. If we impute the 4 million back here, you can see the figure has changed. 12.9 million, 12,916,000. So okay, let's remove it and see if it's going to change now. Then, so the figure has changed. Now it's 12.8. Before it was 12.9. So we automatically calculate the figures for you. All you need to do is to input the response and then input the amount paid. So that is it for the annual payroll computation. So quickly, let's also look at the monthly payroll computation. So what we've simply done is to for the rent for the total rent annual rent paid, what we did is to divide the 2 million year by 12, and also for the total monthly income, what we need to do is to divide the amount here by 12 also to give us the monthly total income. So that is what we've done here. And once we do this, it's going to automatically calculate the net pay, the monthly net pay. And just quickly show you for the taxable monthly tax payable, here we have the formula above here. The taxable monthly income formula to is also indicated here. The total monthly relief, the formula to is also there. Next, also we have the rent relief calculation to is there. The NHF monthly NHF calculation is also there. Monthly pension. So all you need to do is plug in your numbers, and this table will automatically calculate the employees net pay, net either annual or monthly. For this we are looking at is for the monthly calculation. So for some organizations, they don't include leave allowance in the annual computation, so it's being treated separately. That's why we have the leave allowance here. So for the purpose of companies who separate their leave allowance payment, which is not included in the annual computation under allowance other allowances if it is not indicated that it's being paid separately. So to calculate the annual leave allowance net pay and also the monthly leave allowance net pay, here is the table for that. And what needs to be done is to also plug in the numbers. So for this, the NHF calculation is taken out. The pension calculation is also taken out because we've already done these deductions in the annual payroll computation. And equally to the annual voluntary pension will be taken out too because it's been deducted in the annual payroll computation. So next is to put in the calculation. It depends on what your company is using. For the purpose of this training, what is being calculated is 45% of the total annual income multiplied by 15% to give us this annual leave allowance gross pay. So once you put in these numbers, the table will automatically calculate the total annual leave allowance, and also based on annual and also based on monthly, so you can know what to pay and also what to remit as tax for your employees. So for this illustration here, the annual tax payable here is 0 because it's below the taxable annual income is below 800,000. So it's the 800,000 threshold is applicable for all payroll computation. That is very key. All payroll computation, you need to follow the new tax law in computing the tax payable. So thank you very much for watching this video up to this point. I want to believe you learned a lot, and I would like you to click the like button and also hit the subscribe button so that you can get notification for new videos. And also please share this video on your channel, friends, acquaintances, families, so that they can get to know what the new tax and payee computation, what the new payroll and tax computation is from this January 2026. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.